All right, let's jump right into this one. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the life, the absolute dominance, and of course, the enduring mystery of the guy who is pretty much universally recognized as the greatest martial artist of all time, Bruce Lee. We're going to look at how a man who moved literally too fast for cameras to capture managed to bridge the East and the West, becoming a massive global icon before his life was cut incredibly, tragically short. And to really grasp that superhuman aura he had, just think about this number: 11. Back in 1962, Bruce Lee ended a fight in exactly 11 seconds. Actually, in that tiny window of time, he unloaded 15 punches and a kick. It's crazy. His hands were moving so blindingly fast that film directors later on literally had to ask him to slow down. They had to shoot in slow motion just so the audience could actually see his techniques on screen. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to think about a human being operating at that peak level of physical capability. Which really brings us right to the core mystery of this explainer, doesn't it? How on earth does a guy with that kind of superhuman vitality just drop dead at 32? It's a total paradox. It's baffled fans and medical experts for decades now. How does someone who pushed the human body to its absolute peak just suddenly succumb behind a locked door? Well, let's retrace his steps and figure out what happened. Section 1. The Ultimate Martial Artist. Now, before we can even begin to dissect the mystery of his passing, we've got to wrap our heads around the sheer intensity of the way he lived. Because Bruce Lee wasn't just born naturally gifted, right? He engineered his body into an actual living weapon through a level of discipline that is, quite frankly, almost unbelievable. Just look at the scale of his daily routine. 5,000. That's the number of punches he threw every single day. Every day, he was relentlessly chasing absolute physical perfection. He'd even multitask, doing 3 or 4 things at once just to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of his day. It was a level of commitment that left basically everyone around him in awe. So where does that kind of unyielding drive even come from? Who does a guy like Bruce Lee look up to? Interestingly enough, one of his biggest inspirations was the legendary Indian wrestler Gama Palwan. Now, Bruce Lee lost only one fight in his entire life, but Gama Palwan, he remained completely undefeated his entire career. Lee was a massive fan of Gama, and seeing that absolute, unblemished record of victory really threw fuel on the fire for Lee's own drive toward perfection.
Moving on to Section 2, a global dual heritage.
You see, Bruce Lee's identity, a lot like his fighting style, was a total fusion. His massive cultural impact in the mid-20th century, the way he connected the East and West, it was built on this really unique global perspective that was forged in the middle of international turmoil. He was born in 1940 in a Chinese hospital in San Francisco's Chinatown, but by the time he was 3 months old, his family moved back to Hong Kong. His dad was a Chinese actor and singer, and his mom was of German and Chinese descent. Because of this mixed lineage, there was a lot of confusion early on about his citizenship, and life got incredibly harsh when he was a kid. The Japanese occupied Hong Kong, and his family had to survive over 3 years of really severe hardship before his dad's career bounced back. Ultimately, at age 18, Lee headed back to America to claim his citizenship. But right before he left for America, something completely pivotal happened. When he was younger, Lee was actually a pretty quiet kid, which sadly made him a total magnet for bullies. His mom, seeing him go through this daily torment, gave him this beautiful piece of philosophy: the more one bends, the more the world bows. To help him actually defend himself, she sent him to train in Wing Chun under the legendary master Yip Man. And man, did that flip a switch. Lee got so obsessed and so good at it that he went from coming home crying to making the bullies cry. He was actually getting into so many street fights that the police started showing up at his parents' house, which is exactly what prompted them to put him on a boat to America at 18. All right, Section 3, Rise to Global Superstardom. So he arrives in America in 1959, and it wasn't instant glamour and fame. He really struggled financially at first. By 1961, he's enrolled at the University of Washington, and to pay his tuition, he just starts teaching martial arts in local parks. Fun fact, that's actually where he met his future wife, Linda. But once he doubled down on his training, his rise was just explosive. By 1969, he's running a training center in LA, teaching Hollywood elites, and of course, other instructors noticed. A guy named Jack Mann actually challenged him. Lee put him down in a minute and a half. Just total dominance. That victory helped land him a supporting role in the movie Marlowe, but it was really in 1971, when he starred in the Chinese film The Big Boss, that everything changed. That movie skyrocketed him to global superstardom overnight. He became an absolute international cinematic icon. Which brings us to Section 4, philosopher, artist, and fighter. Now, it's absolutely crucial to remember that Bruce Lee was way more than just a guy with fast hands. He was this incredibly multifaceted person. He read constantly, he wrote, he developed these deep, profound philosophies. His success was just as much intellectual as it was physical. But, there was a darker side to all that success. It became an ultimate obsession. The sources point out that Lee developed this intense, almost terrifying need to become a martial artist so perfect that nobody would be able to match him for thousands of years. Just think about that kind of pressure. That mental drive pushed him to work his physical body way, way past what is natural for a human being. And the cost of that obsession? It was steep. He was constantly battling extreme exhaustion. To keep up with this completely grueling schedule, his body just started breaking down. He began suffering from these constant, agonizing headaches and really dangerous brain swelling. It actually got so bad that he would literally pass out on the film set. To cope, he leaned heavily on medications to mask those symptoms, bring the swelling down, and just force his body back to work. And this leads us to our final section, Section 5, a mysterious and tragic death. So, how exactly did a man with such legendary, superhuman strength actually meet his end? Let's trace the final hours of July 20, 1973. It's shockingly mundane, really. It's 4 p.m. in Hong Kong. Lee is in a meeting about his next movie. Out of nowhere, one of those severe headaches hits him. He asks a friend for something to help, and he's given a basic combination of aspirin and a muscle relaxant called Mepromate. He excuses himself, goes into a bedroom, and lies down to rest. A few hours go by, he doesn't come out for dinner. His friends go to wake him up, but the door is locked from the inside. They end up breaking it down, only to find the 32-year-old martial arts god completely unresponsive. They rush a doctor in, but it's already too late. Bruce Lee is gone. What happens next is truly fascinating because of how the world reacted. Now, the official medical cause of death was a fatal allergic reaction to that headache medication, which caused severe brain swelling. But the public? They just couldn't accept it. They couldn't believe a guy who broke stones with his bare hands was taken out by a headache pill. And that disbelief spread like wildfire, birthing all sorts of wild, unproven conspiracy theories. Some completely baseless rumors claimed his wife, Linda, had been slowly poisoning him. Other, equally unverified theories said he was assassinated by a jealous Chinese government. Now, as an explainer, we're just impartially reporting on these. They are strictly unproven conspiracy theories. But they really show you just how immortal Bruce Lee seemed to the rest of the world. So, we're left to ponder a pretty profound question. Does the tragic mystery and the whole circus of wild theories surrounding his death overshadow his monumental legacy? Because Bruce Lee literally bridged the gap between East and West. He popularized martial arts on a global scale and shattered massive racial barriers in Hollywood. He showed us the absolute limits of human potential. So, what do you think? Does the unsolved enigma of his sudden end make his legend even stronger, or does it distract from the sheer genius of his life's work? Something to chew on. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.